Okay, I want you to picture this. The date is November 13th, 1833. It's the dead of night, and all across North America, people are waking up, but not to a peaceful silence. They're waking up to a sky that looks like it's literally tearing itself apart. So, this isn't just an astronomy lesson. Nope. This is about what happens when we look up and have absolutely no idea what we're seeing. For thousands and thousands of people from every walk of life, this was not some beautiful, wondrous light show. It was sheer chaos. It was confusing. And for most, it was a genuinely terrifying sight that just had no earthly explanation. I mean, can you even imagine your own kid waking you up with those words? That quote from a man named Samuel Rogers just nails the immediate gut punch reaction people had. This wasn't wonder, it was pure primal fear. The only thing that made sense to them was this is it. This is the apocalypse. And you've got to get this straight. People weren't just seeing a handful of shooting stars. No way. Eyewitness accounts all describe a sky so packed with light and movement that it felt like the very fabric of the universe had come unstitched. The stars, they thought the actual stars were falling from the sky. This feeling wasn't just in the towns and cities. Think about being out on the frontier. You're a settler, a pioneer. You're already living on the edge of everything you know. The terror was just as real for them, and maybe even more terrifying because you're so isolated. I just love this little bit of dialogue because it feels so authentic, so real. You've got the Wall family. They just made it to Missouri from Kentucky. They're settling down, and the first thought is totally normal. Hey, watch out for sparks from the campfire. But what was actually happening was infinitely more scary than a stray spark. The scene at their camp was just total panic. Everyone, enslaved people, free people, they were all united in this one terrifying belief. This is the end. All they could do was watch as the sky rained down fire, and they watched like that all night until the sun finally miraculously came up on a world that was still there. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not everybody saw this event the same way. It turns out, depending on who you were and what your situation was, this cosmic storm could be a terrifying omen or, unbelievably, a divine message of hope. This is from the perspective of Amanda, an enslaved girl in Tennessee. Her account is just so powerful because it shows you how this terror just smashed through the brutal social barriers of the time. The fear was universal. I mean, when the sky itself seems to be collapsing, all those earthly power structures, they just melt away for a moment. And in that moment of shared terror, something absolutely extraordinary happened. Some slave owners, truly believing these were the final moments of humanity and that they were about to face their own judgment, started to confess. They revealed secrets they'd held for years, telling enslaved people about their parents, about brothers and sisters who had been sold and torn away from them. A night of terror suddenly became a moment of just heartbreaking revelation. Now, get this. At the very same time, a completely different story is unfolding. Mormon refugees who were being violently chased out of their homes in Missouri looked up at that exact same sky. But for them, it wasn't an ending. One of their leaders, Elder Parley Pratt, wrote that it was a joyous, majestic sign from God. For them, it was a confirmation of their faith in the middle of all that persecution. So you have terror, revelation, joy, all from one single event. While people on the ground were wrestling with what it all meant, science was getting ready to offer a totally different kind of answer, one that shifted the whole conversation from what people felt to what was actually happening. And that, right there, that's the big question. If it wasn't Judgment Day, then what in the world could cause a spectacle so massive and so terrifying? Well, the answer has a name: the Leonid meteor shower. What all those people were seeing wasn't the stars falling at all. It was our own planet, Earth, flying right through a giant cloud of cosmic dust and rubble that a comet left behind. So here's the breakdown of how it works. It all starts with this comet. Its name is Tempel-Tuttle. As it flies around the sun, it leaves behind this trail of cosmic gravel, kind of like a messy truck spilling junk on the highway. And every single November, Earth's orbit takes us right through that trail of debris. Those little bits of rock and dust smack into our atmosphere at insane speeds, and poof, they burn up, creating those beautiful streaks of light we call meteors or shooting stars. Okay, but wait. If this happens every year, why was 1833 so different? Why do we remember it as the night the stars fell and not, just another Tuesday? Well, the answer is in this really cool, predictable cycle. 33 years.
Remember that number. That's the key. So while we pass through some of the comet's debris every year, the shower only becomes a true storm, a mind-blowing, sky-filling spectacle, about every 33 years. That's when the comet's orbit brings its thickest, densest cloud of debris back around, right into our path.
And it turns out 1833 was far from the first time this happened. People have been recording this storm for centuries. There are clear records of it from 902 AD, and even some descriptions in Plato's writings from ancient Greece that sound suspiciously similar. So, the apocalypse of 1833 was really just one incredible peak and a natural repeating pattern that had been going on for thousands of years. At the end of the day, 1833 was just the perfect storm, literally. The debris field from Comet Tempel-Tuttle was super dense that year, and it passed unusually close to us. You combine that with crystal clear viewing conditions all across the continent, and, well, you get the single most spectacular meteor shower in all of recorded history. All of this history brings us right back to today. Knowing the science behind it completely transforms how we look at the night sky. It bridges that enormous gap between raw terror and real understanding. Just look at this incredible shift in perspective. What people saw as Judgment Day, we now know is just comet debris. Where they saw the very stars falling out of the sky, we see a predictable annual meteor shower. A divine sign or a terrifying omen has become a beautiful, natural phenomenon. It's the exact same sky, but we're living in a completely different universe of understanding. Which kind of leaves us with one last question. We have all this science, all this knowledge right in our pockets. But if you walked outside tonight and the sky just erupted in a way you had never seen, with no warning, no explanation, would your first thought really be about orbital mechanics? Or would some tiny, ancient part of you still feel that same awe, and maybe, just maybe, that same fear that our ancestors felt? What would you think?